Hey YouTube, how's it going today? I just want to have a quick chat about why I switched from Android to iOS. But first, let me reminisce. My very first Android device was the HTC Hero, which had a frickin' trackball. Can you imagine an Android device with a trackball? But the HTC Hero wasn't what really sold me on Android devices. In fact, it was actually the Galaxy Nexus, which had one of my most favorite features at that time was the Pixel Live wallpaper. Then as I started to download different types of Android wallpapers and live wallpapers, I got into really heavy customization with different messaging apps, different keyboards, different types of icons, different launchers. I was sold on customization, and that was one of the biggest driving factors as to why I stuck with Android for so many friggin' years. Because my phone was really just a kind of creative expression of who I am, and I was able to do that through a device. And over the years, since maybe 2010 or something, I've had most of the major flagship Android devices. The Samsung Galaxy S3, S4, S6, S7, S8, and S9, the Samsung Galaxy Note 3, Note 4, and Note 5, HTC One, M8, M9, M10, A9, LG G3, G4, G5, G6, and V10, Nexus 4, 5, 6P, 7, 9, and the 5X, OnePlus One, 3T, and 5T, and obviously, and most recently, the Google Pixel and Google Pixel 2 XL. And although Android has evolved over the years, I find that just the user experience of it has really kind of just been really incremental changes with a home button, a back button, and a recent apps button that really hasn't changed all that much. As of recently, I've been wanting more from an Android device and mobile devices in general. That's where the iPhone X comes in. So I've been using the iPhone X for about, I don't know, 2 months now, and I've been really impressed with the iPhone. And I mean, it sucks to say that because I've been such a long time Android user. Why can't you like both? And some of the reasons why I really like the iPhone X, one of the primary ones is the design. That all glass back, even though lots of Android devices already have a glass back, there's something about the way in which the finishing on the iPhone X is compared to, let's say, the S9. It's less fingerprint gucky. It just really is. I compared the iPhone X to the S9, and at the end of the day, the types of touches to the iPhone X weren't as gross as on the S9. Even though I am using a deep brand skin, I still think the glass back feature of the iPhone X is implemented a lot better than most other Android devices that I've tried before. And in addition, there's also Qi charging, which Android devices have had for such a very long time. Now that the iPhone X has it, it's like, well, welcome to 2018, Apple, but I mean, it finally has Qi charging, which is pretty sweet in my books. And also just the solid frame of the iPhone X versus the S9. It feels a little bit more fragile when operating the S9. I feel really confident holding it. I don't know, I've never dropped it or anything, but I mean, if it does drop, I would assume I'm pretty screwed. I was watching Dave 2D's video about why he hates Apple. I'll link that in the description below. Some of their stuff, like some of the repairs, are ridiculous. Like the iPhone X's glass back repair is $549. And as he pointed out in the video, you can actually just buy a OnePlus 6 with that money. I mean, at least the US, $549 US. So I'm assuming it's like $649 Canadian. Generally speaking, I'm still really sold on the iPhone X due to the design of and the build quality of the phone. Then of course there's the software, iOS 12, iOS 11, whichever iOS version you're using, which is really simple to use. I mean, there's this whole funny weird stigma about iOS that it's your mom and dad or aunts and uncle's phone because it's simple to use and it's just really basic. Currently in my current, stage in my career and in my life, I just haven't had the time to really get into full customization with my devices, like Android devices. So right now, currently, as it stands, some of the basic features that I need in terms of my phone, which is texting, emailing, camera, and web browsing and stuff like that, it works really well on the iPhone X, and I haven't experienced too many, stutters or lag on my iPhone X versus the S9. Let's say you've got a lot of apps in the background, it's going to slow down, definitely. It'll kind of lag. But with the iPhone X, the way in which Apple does and handles RAM management is still unbridled today. Maybe the Google Pixels are close to that, but iPhone X's RAM management, just the way it operates, is still buttery smooth versus lots of other Android devices. And when I'm such a on-the-go type of person that I need my device to work. That's it. It just has to work. I don't have time for lags or stutter. Then in addition to the awesome RAM management and seamless fluidity of the iPhone 10. There's stuff like iMessage, which is really consistent amongst my iPad and my MacBook Pro. Just to be able to have a connectivity with all your messaging based off of one software is pretty neat in my estimates, because if I'm on my bed and I get a message on iMessage, I can still, you know, pick up my iPad, which is on my bed, and answer from there versus get up and get to my desk to pick up my iPhone. Versus, let's say, with Google's implementation, I know there's Hangout. I guess there is connectivity with stuff like Google Hangouts with your Chromebook or with Chrome plugins, but it still isn't as seamless or as fluid as iMessage is. And I know Google is still trying to operate, or Android in general is still trying to create something similar to iMessage. But as of recording this in 2018, and it's July 8th, they still haven't done that smoothly yet. That's one thing that I've really been impressed about with the iPhone 10. And as funny as it is, I really like memojis and animojis. Sorry, but it's pretty neat. And there's stuff like Face ID, which at first I thought was going to be very gimmicky and stupid. I know lots of other Android devices have had some sort of face unlock technology, but as far as I know, you can also correct me in the comments below, Apple's implementation takes a 3D image of your face, and there's like a billion different types of pinpoints that recognizes your face, versus some of the Android implementation, like the S9 is an iris scanner, or the OnePlus 6, or even the Nexus devices. It's just, I believe it's a picture of your face. I don't think the technology is the same as Apple's. So at first I was like, man, that's stupid. But as I got to use it, I was really impressed by the consistency of Face ID. It probably works about 8 times out of 10 to recognize my pretty face. Also, the implementation with stuff like Apple Wallet, or even just installing apps, it recognizes your face. So far and again in my go life, I think having that ease of use to incorporate into your stuff, your day-to-day stuff like downloading apps or even just making payments, to have it secured by this, I mean, that's unbridled right now. I don't think Google Pay has incorporated anything sort of like a Face ID incorporation or implementation, or even Samsung Pay has done something like that, which is still secured by your fingerprint, which a lot of people have said they prefer. A lot of videos I've seen, at least, they prefer having a fingerprint sensor, because one, you can unlock it from anywhere you are versus pulling up a phone to your face to do it. I've done it at low angles and double chins and stuff, and it still does recognize it. So at this point, I'm not missing fingerprint unlocking. The Face ID is working for me, and the only times it doesn't work is if I'm, say, lying in bed and it's really dark. Ghost coffee, that was in frame before. The only times that it hasn't worked is with when I'm in bed and it's very low angle or it's really dark, or even when I'm wearing sunglasses. Then there's stuff like gestures and swipes and how to operate an iPhone 10 swipes. That's very new to me. I know devices like the Blackberries or Palm Pre's have had swipe-based interfaces and user experience, so no, Apple didn't really create it, but I mean, you could argue that they perfected it. I know Android P is supposed to incorporate gesture-based software, which I've seen some of the early builds, and even OnePlus has incorporated something new similar to that. I'm just looking for a more seamless experience with my mobile device, which has easier one-handability versus pressing a back button and a home button and a recent apps button. I think to me right now that's a bit archaic. At first, again, I was very apprehensive about it, but as I got to use it and as I got more used to it, it became really seamless to me and easy to use. And when I go back to other Android devices that I've used in the past, or some of my friends, I'll pick them up and be like, the hell's happening here? Maybe that is because I'm used to the iPhone 10s now, and if I went back to Android of yore, it would be okay eventually, but I really like the gesture-based software on the iPhone 10. Honestly, I still consider myself to be an Android guy, like 100%. Okay, some of you will probably call bullshit on that, but I still consider myself an Android guy, maybe 75% all in. And there's nothing wrong with liking both Android and iOS. A lot of the time, when my friends that have Android devices, they pull up my iPhone 10, they roll their eyes and stuff, and I'm like, guys, I'm just taking a vacation from Android right now. I still do love the open nature of Android and the ability to do and customize it however you want. But right now I'm just taking a little bit of a hiatus because I want more from my Android experience. I want to experience new ways to use Android, not the same old back button, home button, recent apps button that I've been accustomed for like 7 years now. I want something new and revolutionary with my Android system, not evolutionary, and I think that's what Android P is going to have. So in all honesty, I think I'm going to go back to the Android world once the Pixel 3 comes out. And lots of the Android devices that have come out this year, the OnePlus 6, the Huawei P20 Pro, the LG G7, they've all adopted the notch interface or the notch design, and for what? Not even for a good reason, just to really play copycat. I mean, HTC, the HTC U12 isn't as bezel-less as the devices that I just mentioned, but it doesn't adopt a notch. Most Android device flagships do have a notch, and that's really not a good look because it's just plain copycat. You're not really, you know, making it your own. And even as shitty as it is, like the Pixel 3 XL apparently will have a notch, so I might even stick with the Pixel 3 when I go back to Android, because the Pixel 3 is going to be like a smaller version of the Pixel 2 XL, which I actually thoroughly enjoyed from a design perspective. And also that Android P, again, is supposed to adopt the gesture-based features and software, which is something that I really have adored about my iPhone 10 so far. But for now, as I wait for Google to announce the Pixel 3, I'm going to stick with my iPhone 10 as a daily driver. No other phone right now is kind of enticing me to switch back to Android. There's no reason why you can't like both. If you've recently switched to iOS from an Android device, or if the iPhone 10 won you over away from Android, let me know in the comments below. Let me know how your experience has been going so far. Like mine, I am happy with my iPhone 10, but I'm waiting for something better from Android to come about to bring me back over. Or have you had an iPhone 10 and you just said, screw this iPhone 10, I'm going back to Android instantly? If you've had that kind of experience too, let me know in the comments below as well. We can have a discussion about that. If you did like this video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel if you aren't already subscribed. And if you are subscribed, please hit that bell notification so that you know when a new video goes up. Also, if you want to follow my social channels, you can. It's juliusxx on Instagram. That'll come up just in a little bit. And also some other videos that you can take a look at. Bye!